We are all just walking each other home. 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 We are all just walking each other home.
I don't know about you, but my heart feels very open right now. Why don't we just pause for a moment and put our hands on the heart and just take this moment in, taking a nice deep breath. Very much feel that Sherri is with us right now, here in the redwoods, and with our hearts opened by the music. Thank you to the Threshold Choir. So next we'd like to invite up Sunil, who is a mindfulness teacher that Sherri had a very important friendship with and worked with Sunil, and so we'll let him share his story and connection with Sherri.
Can you hear me clearly? Yeah, great. Okay, I won't touch it then. So I have a Zoom. I'm a little nervous. I have a Zoom meditation group that meets, and my friend Larisse was in it, and she invited Sherri. There's some emotion coming. That's okay. So can you all join me in putting your hands on your heart? Thank you. And a breath together like Anthea. I feel better. And this is what we do in a mindfulness group, right? Take a moment to be together, feel what we're feeling. And when we do it together, it's somehow lighter than doing it alone. And so I was privileged to have Sherri join us for a little bit. And so to honor her, what I'd like to offer is just like a 5-minute meditation. So if you feel comfortable closing your eyes or finding a spot somewhere in this beautiful space to rest your eyes. And I'll be looking at my watch to make sure I don't go too long. And if there's something I offer that doesn't work for you right now, please take care of yourself. And what's most important is your heart in this moment. And so if it feels okay to just take a deep breath into your belly and letting that go. Taking another one into the belly and letting it go. And one more. And letting your breath return to normal. Just taking a few moments to feel your body breathing. Feeling and hearing all the sounds that are coming into your awareness. noticing the sounds that are near you, far away, above, below. And notice the big space in which the sounds are coming and going. Noticing the space allows all the sounds to come and go. And also feeling this big space above us, this big ocean of air that we're all breathing from and into. The spacious sky above. And then coming down into our bodies and feel the support if your back is touching the chair. Notice the support. Notice the support under you. Feeling the contact with your seat. Feeling your feet on the ground. Just press a little into the ground. Feel the earth. Just take a moment to feel your body sitting here, breathing. And then open your eyes and looking around this big space we're in, letting your eyes wander around, noticing what you see, the different colors, the light, the shadow, movement, stillness. Finding something you enjoy looking at for a moment. And taking in the nourishment of what's here, the beauty. And also feeling whatever is in your heart, the love, the tenderness, the beauty of being together. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you so much, Sunil. It was very, very beautiful. So next, we'd like to invite up Sherri's long-term partner, a very, very special man, Bill. I won't make him cry too much before he has to do this very courageous job of speaking about his dear beloved.
Thanks so much, everybody, for coming. It's so great that Sherri has so many people who care about her. And I want to thank all the people. So many folks have been so supportive of the two of us over the last almost 10 years. Emails, texts, phone calls, walks on the beach, Zoom meetings. It's really, really helped us get through it all. I want to especially thank the caregivers, without the caregivers, Sherri wouldn't have lasted nearly as long. And over the last few years, the work that they had to do just got increasingly more arduous and stressful. And so I just want to thank them. Araceli and Helen, who couldn't be here together today because of a migraine headache, and Joe, and Karen, and Leah, and Linda, and May, and Susie. You were real heroes. And the amount of effort that you had to make helping Sherri is just heroic. I know, because I was also in those people. And it got pretty rough toward the end in many ways. Seems like I'm forgetting someone to thank. Maybe it'll come back to me. A few days ago, when I was struggling with this eulogy, Sherri's stepsister pointed me to a helpful poem. And the poem is called The Dash. The title refers to that horizontal dash on tombstones between the year of birth and the year of death. And the poem challenges the readers to examine how we've been spending our time, how we've been living and loving during our dash between birth and death. The last two lines read, "So when your eulogy is read, with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say? About how you spent your dash?" And this was so helpful to me because I could just smile. And I know that Sherri spent her whole adult life taking action, protecting the things she cared the most about: the earth, animals, people, especially children. The origins of these concerns seem to have come from her early childhood. She told me that during the first few years of her life, her mother was the kindest, most loving person she had ever known. But when Sherri was about 4 years old, her mother descended into a severe mental illness. Sherri said that the saddest moments of her life were watching her mother suffer from mental illness. It was also sad and confusing to watch her mother verbally and physically abuse her father, and it was painful for Sherri to suffer from her mom's verbal abuse. She told me that as a young girl, she would escape her crazy family by finding refuge in nature on a mountain nearby. She studied the animals and seemed to extend to the animals the nurturing, motherly feelings that she was no longer receiving. Nature was also a refuge for another reason. As a sensitive, confused, wounded child, she was often the target of bullies. So I think Sherri would say that these were factors in developing her concern for the earth, animals, and children. Sherri would often tell me how very important it was for her to spend her life doing good work. The guiding principle in her life was to do good in the world, and she usually told me this after my pointing out that the nonprofits that she usually worked for paid her only about half the money she needed for her modest lifestyle. Her commitment to doing good work came from the deepest core of her soul, and she did so much good. In addition to the things I mentioned in her obituary, she raised money for rainforests, worked to save endangered species, rescued and tamed animals, became an expert in teaching schools how to deal with bullying, helped socially awkward boys learn social skills, and on and on and on. Hers was always a path with a heart. And she changed so many lives for the better, none more than mine. For I was the lucky beneficiary of Sherri's loving and playful spirit. Years ago, I heard Anne Bancroft being asked, "What's the secret to your long marriage to Mel Brooks?" She laughed and said, "Oh, when I hear his footsteps approach our door, I know the fun's about to start." I heard that and thought, that's how I feel when Sherri and I are about to get together. She was always so upbeat and ready to seize the day. Staying indoors on a nice day, or even a not so nice day, was a mortal sin to Sherri. She took me to so many beautiful hiking trails, and the awe that she experienced was contagious. She retained so much childlike joy and mischievousness. When we'd see a no trespassing sign, she'd say, "We didn't see that. We'll pretend to be German tourists." That's so Sherri. We loved laughing together, and I loved to hear her laugh. Her laugh was this full-bodied, mirthful outburst, and like the rest of her, so juicy, so full of the love of life. She was such a joy to be with. On our travels, she was our explorer-in-chief, and she honored me with the title Ever Gracious Assistant. A few years ago, I heard Dolly Parton ask this secret to her long marriage, even though she spent so much of her time each year as a touring performer. Dolly became very serious. She said, "My husband, Carl, isn't just my husband. He's my best friend. He's my brother. He's my father. He's my son. He's my everything." I heard that. I thought, yeah, that's the way I feel about Sherri. And then about a couple seconds later, I remembered back in 1996, Sherri wrote me a poem which elaborated on these points that Dolly Parton was making. So her love for me was strong and sweet. And she had these charming, unique ways of expressing affection. At least 6 times a day when we were together, she would take my hand and hold it to her cheek and kiss my hand. And at first I thought, this is kind of different. I think when I was 19 years old, I'd seen too many classic French films and wanted to imitate Louis Jourdan. Didn't really work with 18-year-old girls. But anyway, it was very sweet. And she kept doing this. And I thought, okay, I called her the hand-kissing bandit. And I adopted the process myself. Just out of nowhere, I decided to pick up her hand and kiss it. And speaking of out of nowhere, sometimes we'd be together with other couples, and she'd out of nowhere blurt something like, "Bill's a really good athlete." I think, well, that's really sweet, honey, but I'm on Medicare. You know, it's been a long time since I had a whole lot of talent in that realm. And she was always talking me up and looking for opportunities to praise me. And that was another practice I copied. Although to match the extravagance of some of her praises, I have to say things like, you know, Sherry's gotten so good at driving her electric scooter, she's giving hitchhikers rides to the top of Mount Tingle. And that level of absurdity is too much even for silly Bill. I think the aspect of her love which made me feel most deeply loved. It's kind of embarrassing. Was her deep empathy and care for the parts within me that were the most broken. And all of us have those parts. And yeah, she really held me there. And at one point I realized that she was doing a better job at this than I was. And here was another behavior of hers I should learn from and emulate. One last wise woman I'll quote today is Eleanor Roosevelt. She once said, "Women are like tea bags. You never know how strong they are until they're put in hot water." Well, even before this last decade, Sherri had had more than a normal lifetime's worth of being in hot water. She was born with many birth defects, which most severely affected her reproductive system and her musculoskeletal system. She had 3 operations for her reproductive system, 16 foot surgeries, including a foot reconstruction, and another surgery for cancer of the spine. From her early 30s on, she spent portions of many years using walkers, wheelchairs, and electric scooters to continue to function in the world and do the work she loved. When she applied for disability in 2014, her relevant medical records amounted to 1,200 pages. And again, this was a year before Sherri took the 2 ciprofloxacin pills that dropped her into ever more torturous nightmares that made her previous decades seem almost normal. If there's one thing that Sherri would most like you to take away from today, it's this. Unless your body can tolerate fluoroquinolone antibiotics, it's best to avoid them. If she had not taken those 2 pills in March of whatever year that was, 2015, she'd be out celebrating her own life today. In Sherri's case, those 2 pills continue to break down more and more of her body's systems. Although we kept researching and trying new experimental treatments, her decline continued over the years and really accelerated over the last 2 years of her life. Throughout these years, Sherri found moments of peace listening to recordings of Buddhist teachers. And sometimes she'd have me listen along with her. Both so that I could feel a little more peace myself, and also so that I could gradually make peace with the possibility of losing her. Despite increasing pain and difficulties in moving and in speaking, Sherri rarely became irritable. One of her kind caregivers sent her a Christmas note saying, "You're the toughest bitch I've ever known." And Sherri loved that note, and she knew Linda, quoting Linda, meant it as a high compliment. When I was being her caregiver, Sherri would thank me more than 100 times a day for nearly every little thing I did for her. she'd often praise me for my patience. And when I'd say, honey, you're the really patient one, she'd say, stop that. Just take it in. Take in what I'm trying to say to you. I say, well, can't I say anything? Can I say thank you? She says, yes, you can say thank you, but that's it. Just take it in. Although Sherri came to see that there was virtually no chance of regaining even a halfway decent quality of life, she kept trying to find improvements because she knew how much I feared losing her. As her decline in health accelerated, it became clear that her life would never again be worth living, and I needed no convincing to let her go and to support her in taking her exit. On the night before Sherri passed away, one of our friends commented on the strength of our bond. Sherri said, one of us gives some love to the other, and then that person tries to give even more love back, and then we keep upping our love over and over. When I said that, when I heard her say that, I thought, that's exactly what I've been consciously trying to do. But Sherri's noticed that we've both been trying to do that. But how much harder has it been for her, in all her bodily pain and dysfunction, to keep making these extra efforts to extend her love to me? The last decade was definitely the most difficult of Sherri's life. She suffered so much, but still found ways to experience joy, laughter, and to give so much love. On the night before her passing, she said, it's okay to be angry about my leaving you. I just shook my head and smiled. Whatever small amount of anger I felt was dwarfed by my gratitude for her enduring her torturous existence for so long on my behalf. I've never admired anyone so much. Although I'm on a journey of grief, I feel so much gratitude for Sherri and cherish every moment I had in her loving presence.
We just take another pause here, and again, hands on our hearts for the courage that took. Holding both the grief and the gratitude together. You know, the privilege of being with Sherri and her final day on this earth, and one of the fondest memories I know Karen and I will always hold is sitting on her bed with Bill and him just sharing story after story after story, and we laughed and cried, and they've just what a rich, full life together, and so beautiful, and this is how we live on in our stories, right? So we're gonna have some music again from Patty, but speaking of stories, after that we want to invite any of you, dear friends, neighbors, caregivers, anyone who wishes to come up and share your story, your connection with Sherri. So get ready to also be brave and come up here if you feel moved to do so.
The song I'm about to play is Michelle. She's one of Sherri's very favorite songs. And I know Bill also said another of her songs was Celebrate by Cool and the Gang. Hard to do the solo violin, but I'll play Michelle and then Bill, you let me know that I can do Cool and the Gang. I really can. I worked in a Motown band for 10 years. So this is Michelle, and I know that she...
Could you move over by the microphone, please?
This is the song Michelle, that's one of Sherri's favorite songs. And I know that she can hear us, and I know that she heard that beautiful eulogy and everyone's wonderful speeches. And so this is in honor of Sherri. And that's better. It's also one of my very favorite Beatles songs. Celebration is usually played with an 18-piece orchestra. But it does have a strong melody line, so that does help.
Celebration, celebration, come on.
We